Welcome to MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next. If you're not too careful, you just might learn something.
Hi there. Thank you for joining me for another episode of MacGyver's Workshop, where you never know what we're going to be working on next, and if you're not too careful, you just might learn something. So I hope everybody's doing okay in the midst of this whole coronavirus thing, COVID-19. I know everybody's kind of optimistic. They're talking about starting to open things back up, at least here in Tennessee. So hope everybody's staying safe, and you know, you can always tune into MacGyver's Workshop. You know, like I said, I got a ton of videos out there, and you never know what we're going to be doing next. So this one, I'm going to kind of call it a lessons learned and review of our Redneck Wetblaster that we built. And I'll give you a little spoiler. It ultimately turned out really, really good. Took me 3 tries, but you know, it's all part of MacGyver, and you know, it's you don't always know what you're going to get when you're done building it. But or you know, you learn. The point being is you learn something. So I'll take you around and show you some of the final stuff I ended up doing on the Wet Blaster since the last video. You can see partially part of it here behind me. So let's get started. Okay, so in the end, I did away with the agitator that I had in the media bin. Turns out if your sand's dry, you know, you don't need it if you have the bin with a tapered bottom like I have. And if your sand is damp or wet, it ain't gonna matter. The agitator ain't gonna help. Not in the media bin anyway. So, but anyway, that's pretty much where we had left off last time. And I went out and had the frame outside and got to getting started. And on a day when it's 0% chance of rain and sunny, supposedly, according to the weather, it starts raining. Well, that's really not a good thing, because, you know, once your sand gets damp, you know, this doesn't matter if you're using $1 billion sandblaster. If your media gets wet, you know, you're done. It ain't gonna work. So, you know, it was trying to rain in the bin and or the sifter here and down in here, you know, and it's like, oh geez. So we ended up going back for some minor revisions, because when you're out using a wet blaster, you're going to get wet. let's just say that. You know, initially I had said that I thought it would be good because, you know, the water keeps the dust down, which it does, but you're still going to get sand in places you didn't know existed, and you're also, on top of that, now you're going to get wet. So so to help with the rain, I just put a little canopy over the top of it, because like I said, if I'm out there blasting and it starts raining, who cares? You know, I can carry on. Everything's getting wet anyway. So I know it looks kind of hinky, but you know, it works. That's the main operative, or main objective here. So I still got to put my covering on the roof deck there, but that's something I can do on another day when I got nothing to do. And the other interesting bit, as I said, you know, you're going to get wet. So you want a suit, you know, full body suit with the hood, and of course gloves. That helps. And then you know, that'll help keep you from getting soaked. And some good rubber boots are a good idea as well. You know, unless you don't care that you get flat soaking wet and covered with sand. But me, I got a suit and boots and gloves, so. And the hardest part of it really that I found is when you're wearing the full face goggles, they tend to fog up a lot. And then of course, all the spray that blasts back on you gets on your goggles too with sand. So that's a bit of a hang up, but I think even in a commercial situation, you'd have that same problem. So I'm still calling this a win for this project. And one other thing too, I was saying with regard to how, you know, you're spraying this pressure washer on a frame and you stick it in a corner or a cubby or something and it's going to ricochet back at you. This thing will throw water, you know, ricocheted water way farther than the hose is. So again, my media was starting to get wet. So that was remedied real quick and easy with just a little cheap shower curtain liner. So all I do is pull that across there, and that protects my media bin and everything from getting wet. Because like I said, once that sand gets wet, you just gotta stop and you gotta dig all the sand out of the bin or the sifter if it's in there and clean it all out and get it dry. Now, interestingly, the one thing that I found, because I buy my play sand from Lowe's because they keep it inside and it's usually dry, but I ran across a couple of bags that were damp, and it's a sealed plastic bag, so you kind of wonder how that happens, but you know, humidity in the air or whatever. But and I wasn't paying attention and I dumped it in there and you know, had to stop and clean everything out. But fortunately for me, I have one of these that we used on our house building project, and that's just a little mortar or concrete mixer that you mix your Quikrete in. And what I found is that you can take that damp sand and put it in there and turn that thing on, and it agitates and tosses the sand and aerates it, and in about 10 or 15 minutes it's dry as a bone. So that helped. And of course I had about 70 bags of play sand, so it was easy to find another bag that was dry. So once I cleaned it out, I was able to carry on. And there's my 4 bags left after sandblasting the frame. All right, so let's get on to the frame here and let's see how good a job it did. And boy, did it do a good job. Now, the one thing that you have to expect when you're doing this, I'm sorry for shaking the camera here, this is carrying it handheld here. This is the end result. Okay, it's bare metal, and looks really good, and is ready to take primer. However, when you're actually doing the wet blasting, within about 5 minutes, it will look like this, and that's called flash rusting, and it's like a light surface oxidation. Comes off real quick with a wire wheel, but it's still aggravating. But it is what it is. They make chemicals you can put in your feed water to prevent that flash rusting, but it's like $150 for a 5-gallon bucket, and I'm just like, you know what, I'll spend a little extra time with a wire wheel, and I really don't have a way of metering that stuff into the wet blaster anyway, because it's like so many ounces per 100 gallons of feed water. And if you don't get it right and you use too much, well, you know, then you just blew $150. So, you know, but anyway, really came out nice. Did a great job. And what I did is when I wire wheeled it, then I just put some like a rust preventative, wiped it down, and that keeps it from rusting back again after I cleaned it up. And then once I get the whole frame done, then I'll just wipe it down with some prep and paint prep, and we're ready to paint. So, but we get a good look. Yesterday I got this one started on this one side here, and you can see really how good a job that did. And I'll see if I can't get some comparison shots of the before pictures that I took, and post them up here in the video when I go to edit this thing down. So, and it's a bit tedious because, you know, you've got a lot of nooks and crannies and spots and everything to get into to, you know, to clean up and get the rust out. But it's worth it in the end because it's really going to make it look awesome, I think. But anywho, it's time for me to get cracking here and get back to it. I got the whole rest of the frame here to go, so stay tuned.